What if everything you've been taught about God is wrong? What if the idea of a divine being watching over us, rewarding and punishing, is nothing more than a tool used for control? For centuries, we've been led to believe that God is a distant figure, an external force far removed from the very fabric of existence. But what if I told you that this belief is not just misguided, but a fundamental misunderstanding of the true nature of God? Why do so many religions portray God as a ruler sitting in judgment, when every major philosophical tradition suggests a much deeper, more intimate connection to the divine? Could it be that the truth has been hidden from us, concealed by those who sought to control the narrative of our spiritual journey? What if the real God isn't separate from us, but the very source of existence itself, the force behind all creation, the energy that flows through every atom and cell, and even in the spaces in between? What if God is not something to worship from a distance, but something we are intimately connected to every single moment of our lives? In this video, we will explore the real nature of God, a truth that has been obscured for millennia. We will delve into the idea that God is not a being, not a figure to be adored from afar, but the very essence of reality itself. This revelation will not only change how you see the divine, but it will transform how you live, how you relate to others, and how you understand your place in the universe. Together, we will unravel the mystery behind the divine process, and you will understand why the traditional view of God has kept us trapped in fear, guilt, and misunderstanding. You'll see why this truth is not just liberating, but essential for our spiritual awakening. If this resonates with you, I invite you to join the conversation in the comments below. Let's discuss how these revelations might challenge everything we've been taught and explore how we can apply this understanding in our everyday lives. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with anyone who needs to hear this message. Let's awaken together, free from the illusions that have kept us bound for so long. God is not a personal being. For generations, we've been told that God is a figure to be worshipped, an all-knowing, omnipotent ruler who sits above, dictating our fate, rewarding or punishing us based on our actions. This image has been ingrained in us by religious institutions, art, and culture, portraying God as a separate entity, above and beyond us. But what if I told you that this traditional understanding of God as a personal being is a misinterpretation? What if this idea of a distant deity is not the truth at all? Think about it for a moment. When we define God as a person, we place limitations on something that is by nature limitless. God in this framework is bound by shape, form, and location. But if God is infinite, if God is everything, then how can it be contained within the confines of a being? The concept of a separate personal God implies boundaries. God, as a personal being, must have a beginning and an end, a place and a time. But true infinity is boundless, without beginning or end. Therefore, the very idea of a personal God as an entity existing apart from the rest of creation is fundamentally flawed. God is not separate from us. God is within us, around us, and through us. The truth is that God is the source of everything, the very fabric of reality itself. Imagine for a moment that everything you see, the stars, the trees, the earth beneath your feet, is not just created by God, but is God itself. Every grain of sand, every breath you take, is a manifestation of the divine process unfolding in real time. God is not an external being sitting far away. God is the energy and life that flows through all of creation. To see God as a personal entity outside of us is to miss the deeper truth. God is the very structure of existence, and we are not separate from it. Consider the wisdom found in ancient philosophies. In Hinduism, for example, Brahman is described not as a personal god, but as the formless ground of being, the eternal source from which everything emerges. The Taoist tradition speaks of the Tao as the way, an ineffable force that cannot be seen or named, but can only be experienced. Even the ancient Greek philosophers like Heraclitus spoke of the Logos, a principle that flows through all of creation, yet is not a separate entity. These traditions hint at a deeper truth. God cannot be contained in a single image or being. God is not a personal ruler, but the very force behind all that is. This understanding can radically transform the way we view our connection to the divine. If we stop seeing God as a distant entity, we begin to recognize the sacredness in all things. Every part of creation, including ourselves, is an expression of the divine. This realization brings us to a place of empowerment. We are not separate from God. We are part of the divine process. God is not a distant figure to be feared or worshipped from afar, but the life force within us and all around us. In embracing this understanding, we free ourselves from the illusion of separation and enter into a deep, intimate relationship with the divine, a relationship that is always present, always unfolding within us and through us. God is a process, not a static entity. Now, if we can accept that God is not a separate being, but the very source of all creation, we must then ask, what is God's nature? Is God something static, something fixed and unchanging? Or is God something dynamic, an ongoing process of becoming? If we are to understand the divine, we must realize that God is not a finished product, not a final destination, but a living, breathing process of creation. Everything in the universe is in a state of constant change and transformation. From the stars that burn bright and then collapse into black holes, to the oceans that ebb and flow with the tides, everything is in motion. Life itself is in an eternal state of becoming. And if the universe is constantly evolving, then God too must be part of that process. God is not an unchanging being sitting outside of time, watching the world unfold. God is the unfolding itself, the process by which the universe is created, destroyed, and recreated again and again. Think about the natural world. Every living being goes through a cycle of birth, growth, death, and rebirth. The seasons change. The earth undergoes constant transformation. This is not random chaos. It is part of the divine process of creation. The destruction of one thing makes way for the creation of something new. This constant cycle of creation and destruction is not the result of a distant, static God, but the very nature of God itself. God is not something that has already been completed and fixed. God is an ongoing process, continually creating, destroying, and recreating. This understanding is also reflected in the field of quantum physics. Scientists have discovered that at the most fundamental level, reality is not made of solid, unchanging objects. Instead, everything is in a state of potential, constantly fluctuating, shifting based on observation and interaction. This aligns perfectly with the idea that God is not a static being, but a living process of becoming. The universe itself, according to modern physics, is not a finished product. It is a dynamic, evolving system, constantly in flux. In this sense, God is the very energy that drives this process, the force that moves through all of creation. If we take this understanding of God as a process, we begin to see ourselves differently. We are not finished beings, static and fixed in place. We are also part of this divine process, constantly evolving, constantly becoming more of who we are meant to be. Just as the universe is in a state of constant transformation, so too are we. This realization frees us from the idea that we must reach some final state of perfection, some fixed ideal. Life is not about reaching a fixed point. It is about participating in the ongoing process of creation. When we understand that God is a process, we can begin to embrace change and transformation as part of the divine flow. Rather than resisting change or fearing the unknown, we can begin to see every moment, every experience, as part of the divine unfolding. Each challenge, each triumph, each moment of joy or pain is part of the greater process of creation. And in this process, we are not passive observers. We are active participants. We are co-creators with the divine, shaping our reality, helping to bring forth the new world that is always emerging. This is a powerful shift in perspective. It means that we are not here to worship a static, fixed God. We are here to participate in the divine process of creation, to embody the energy of transformation and evolution. We are not here to wait for something outside of ourselves to change. We are here to change ourselves, to evolve, to become more aligned with the divine flow that moves through all things. And in doing so, we become more fully ourselves, more fully connected to the divine process, and more fully alive. If this resonates with you, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. How has this understanding of God as a process changed the way you see yourself and your role in the universe? What does it mean for you to live as a participant in the ongoing process of creation? Let's continue this conversation and share our insights as we all grow together in the divine process of becoming. God is the source of all creation. It's easy to imagine God as a distant, unapproachable figure, someone or something that exists beyond the universe, judging from afar. But what if we've been looking in the wrong place? What if God isn't something external, but the very source of life, the wellspring of all creation? The truth is that God is not separate from us. God is the essence of everything that exists. From the air we breathe to the stars above, everything is part of the divine process. God is not merely a creator of the world. God is the very force that sustains and propels every atom, every moment, every experience. If we take a moment to look closely at the world around us, we can see the divine at work in everything. Nature itself is a reflection of the sacred. Every tree that grows, every river that flows, every mountain that rises is a part of God's unfolding story. The earth is alive, pulsating with the divine energy that courses through every living being. From the smallest flower to the vast oceans, each part of nature carries the essence of God within it. The idea that God is the source of all creation is not just a philosophical or spiritual concept. It is something we can observe in the very fabric of reality. Quantum physics tells us that everything in the universe is interconnected, that every particle is part of a vast, interdependent web. The very air we breathe, the light that illuminates our world, the ground beneath our feet, all of it is part of the divine energy that moves through everything. We are not separate from this energy. We are part of it. God is not a being out there beyond us. God is the force that makes everything possible, the very fabric of reality itself. When we begin to understand this, we can see that there is no need to search for God outside of ourselves. We don't need to look to a distant heaven waiting for salvation. God is already here, within us, in the very process of life itself. Each moment, each breath, each interaction with the world around us is a chance to experience the divine. And when we live in alignment with this understanding, everything changes. We realize that we are not disconnected from God. We are God in motion, experiencing the beauty and wonder of creation. The lesson here is simple, yet profound. To experience God is not to look outward, but to look within. When we understand that God is the source of all creation, we begin to see that every part of our lives is sacred. The mundane becomes divine. Our daily experiences, our interactions with others, our thoughts, our feelings, are all part of the divine unfolding. The realization that God is the source of all creation allows us to live in a state of gratitude, reverence, and awe for the beauty that surrounds us, for the gift of life itself. As we move forward, it's important to remember that we are not alone in this journey. The divine is not something separate from us, but something that is always present, always flowing through us. We are not isolated beings, wandering through life disconnected from the divine. We are a part of the divine process, and our very existence is a manifestation of God's love and creativity. When we recognize this, we begin to live with a sense of purpose, knowing that every moment is an opportunity to connect with the divine and contribute to the unfolding of creation. We are not separate from God, we are God. Now that we understand God as the source of all creation, it's time to take this understanding even deeper. If God is the source of all that is, then that means we too are part of that source. We are not separate from God, but rather, we are the divine in human form, experiencing the world as part of the unfolding process of creation. This realization is powerful. It means that we are not disconnected from the divine, but intimately connected to it in every moment. For too long, we've been taught to see ourselves as separate from God. We've been told that God is a distant, powerful figure, and that we are mere mortals, struggling to earn our place in the divine plan. But the truth is that we are not separate from God. We are God. We are the living, breathing expression of the divine, experiencing life through our senses, through our thoughts, through our actions. We are not waiting for salvation. We are already part of the divine process, actively participating in the creation of our reality. Consider this. The universe is not static. Everything is in motion. Stars are born, galaxies form, life evolves. This constant state of becoming is not something external to us. It is something that we are a part of. We are not passive observers of the universe. We are active participants in it. Every thought we think, every action we take is part of the divine unfolding. We are not waiting for God to intervene. We are God, co-creating our reality with the divine force that flows through all things. This understanding is transformative. It means that we are not insignificant beings, wandering through life without purpose. We are the very expression of the divine, and everything we do has meaning. Every choice we make, every interaction we have, is a chance to express the love, creativity, and power of the divine. We are not waiting for someone to tell us what to do. We are the divine, guiding ourselves through life, shaping our reality with every thought, every word, every action. When we understand that we are not separate from God, we begin to see ourselves in a new light. We are not flawed, broken, or unworthy. We are divine beings, capable of creating and transforming our lives in alignment with the divine process. The limitations we once believed we had are illusions. We are not bound by fear, doubt, or insecurity. We are boundless, infinite, and free. And when we step into this truth, we begin to live with a sense of power and purpose, knowing that we are co-creators with the divine. But this truth also comes with responsibility. When we recognize that we are God, we understand that we have the power to shape our lives and our world. This power is not to be taken lightly. We must use it with love, compassion, and wisdom. We must recognize the interconnectedness of all things, understanding that the way we live impacts everyone and everything around us. When we live as expressions of the divine, we are called to live with integrity, with love, and with a deep respect for the sacredness of life. This realization that we are not separate from God, but that we are the living, breathing embodiment of the divine, changes everything. It transforms how we see ourselves, how we see others, and how we see the world. It opens up a new way of being, one that is rooted in love, in connection, and in the understanding that we are all part of the same divine process, unfolding together in the eternal dance of creation. If this message resonates with you, if you feel that it has shifted your perspective or touched your soul in some way, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. How does this understanding change the way you see yourself and the world around you? What does it mean for you to live as a divine being, co-creating your reality with the divine? Let's continue this conversation, sharing our insights and supporting one another in this journey of awakening. The truth about morality and religion. For centuries, we've been taught that morality comes from God, that there is a divine law that governs what is right and wrong. We've been told that without divine commandments, humanity would descend into chaos, that without the moral authority of God, society would fall apart. But what if this idea is not only misleading, but part of a much larger illusion that has kept us trapped in fear and control? What if the moral codes we follow are not handed down by a divine being, but created by humans to serve human agendas? Let's start by acknowledging the idea that morality is universal, that there are eternal truths about right and wrong given to us by God. But is that really the case? Look back at history. Every culture, every religion has had its own version of what's right and wrong, its own set of moral codes, often contradictory to one another. What was once acceptable in one society might have been deemed sinful in another. Slavery, war, conquest, practices that were once justified as moral or even commanded by God are now universally condemned in the modern world. If morality were truly universal and divinely ordained, how can it change so drastically across different cultures, times, and civilizations? The answer is simple. Morality is not fixed. It is not something handed down from on high. It is a human construct created by societies to maintain order, control, and power. The moral codes we follow have evolved based on the needs, fears, and aspirations of the people who created them. And this isn't some radical new idea. It's an insight shared by countless philosophers, mystics, and thinkers throughout history. In the Bible itself, we can find examples of divine commands that, by today's standards, would be considered barbaric. The Old Testament tells stories of God commanding genocide, the killing of innocent children, the destruction of entire nations. Yet these actions were justified because they were carried out in the name of God. But here's the question. If morality truly comes from God, how can these divine commands change over time? How can a God, said to be all good, instruct actions that today we see as atrocities? The reality is that what we have come to think of as divine morality is often a product of the culture in which it was created, manipulated by those in power to control others, to justify their own interests, to enforce their will. Take, for example, the concept of sin. For centuries, religions have taught us that we are inherently sinful, that we are born broken, needing redemption and salvation. We've been told that without God's law, we would be lost in a world of chaos and corruption. But what if sin is not an inherent part of our nature? What if it's a concept invented to instill fear, shame, and guilt, to keep people obedient, to make them feel that they are unworthy unless they submit to an authority? The concept of sin, rather than being a divine truth, is a tool of control, a way to manipulate human behavior, to keep people dependent on the church or the state for their sense of morality. This isn't to say that there is no such thing as right and wrong, or that we should abandon our moral compass entirely. The truth is that morality exists, but it is not divinely imposed. It's a product of our shared humanity. Morality is something we create together, something that evolves over time as we grow, learn, and develop as a society. It is shaped by our values, our experiences, and our understanding of the world. And just as our understanding of the universe has expanded over the centuries, so too has our understanding of morality. What we considered moral in the past may no longer align with our current values, and that's okay. Because morality is not a fixed, unchanging law. It is a living, breathing reflection of our collective consciousness. When we recognize that morality is not something handed down by a divine authority, we are freed from the chains of guilt, fear, and shame that have been imposed upon us. We no longer need to rely on an external source to tell us what is right or wrong. Instead, we can trust our own inner guidance, our own connection to the divine within us, to lead us toward what is just and compassionate. And this is where true freedom lies, not in blindly following a set of rules, but in taking full responsibility for our actions, in living with integrity and compassion, and in aligning our actions with the highest expression of love. This shift in perspective is profound. It means that we no longer need to look to a distant God or a set of ancient commandments to tell us how to live. We can begin to trust ourselves, to trust the wisdom within, to create a morality that aligns with our deepest values and our highest understanding of the divine. This is where the true power of humanity lies, when we realize that we are not separate from God, and that we are the ones who shape the moral fabric of our lives. The problem with religion, and particularly with traditional ideas of morality, is that it has often served to divide us. It has separated us from each other, from our true nature, and from the divine. It has created an us versus them mentality, where people are judged, condemned, or even persecuted because their beliefs or actions don't align with a particular moral code. But when we understand that morality is a shared human creation, something that evolves and changes as we grow, we can begin to see each other as fellow travelers on this journey, all seeking the same truth, all striving to live in alignment with love and compassion. The lesson here is clear. Morality is not something imposed from above. It is something we create together, something we shape through our shared experiences, our wisdom, and our connection to the divine. And when we understand this, we are free to live authentically, to make choices that reflect our true values, and to let go of the fear and guilt that have held us captive for so long. We are not born sinful, broken, or flawed. We are born divine, whole, and capable of creating a world based on love, compassion, and understanding. And when we live from this place of knowing, we become powerful agents of change in the world, helping to create a reality that reflects the highest expression of who we are. The time has come to let go of the old paradigms, to move beyond the outdated systems of control that have shaped our understanding of God, morality, and ourselves. The truth is within us, and it's time to embrace it. When we recognize that we are not separate from God, that we are the divine in human form, we step into our full power, and we begin to live with authenticity, compassion, and love. This is the new way forward, one where we create our own morality based on love, wisdom, and unity, and where we live as the divine beings we were always meant to be. Let's walk this path together, in alignment with our highest truth, as we awaken to the divine power within us all. As we reach the end of this journey together, I want you to take a moment to pause and reflect. What if the way we've been seeing the divine, the way we've been taught about God, has limited our ability to truly experience life in its fullest form? The truth is that we've been given a version of God that is often distant, judgmental, and separated from us. But what if that understanding is entirely wrong? What if God isn't a being to be worshipped from afar, but the very essence of life itself, the source of all that is? What if God is not a concept to believe in, but a truth to awaken to? In the past, we've been taught to worship a God who was separate from us, a figure to be feared and obeyed. But in reality, God is not someone who sits above us, judging us from the heavens. God is not someone or something that we must seek to please. God is the divine force within us, around us and through us, flowing through every atom, every moment, every breath. God is the energy behind creation, the force that is continuously unfolding and manifesting through us. And when we begin to see this truth, we realize that there is nothing to fear, no distant deity to appease, only the sacred, infinite energy of the universe that is already inside of us. You are not separate from God. You are God experiencing itself in this moment, in this life. Every part of you, every thought, every feeling, every action is a direct expression of the divine process. When you embrace this truth, you stop seeing yourself as a small, insignificant being struggling through life. You realize that you are a powerful, divine co-creator, capable of shaping your reality and experiencing life in its most profound, loving form. This shift in perception is liberating. It means you no longer need to look outside yourself for validation, guidance, or salvation. Everything you need is already inside you. The divine wisdom, the divine love, the divine strength, they are all within you. And when you live from this knowing, everything changes. You begin to see the world differently. You realize that every moment, every interaction, every choice is an opportunity to embody the divine, to create beauty, peace, and love in your life and in the world around you. But there's a catch. This truth, while liberating, is also responsibility. If we understand that we are not separate from God, if we accept that we are the living, breathing expression of the divine, then we must also acknowledge that we are responsible for the reality we create. Our thoughts, our actions, our energy, these are the tools by which we shape our lives and the world we live in. And as we become aware of this power, we are called to use it wisely, to create a life of love, compassion, and unity, to heal and uplift rather than divide or harm. This is not a call to perfection, but a call to awareness, to conscious living. It's about stepping into the full expression of who we truly are. Divine beings, capable of creating our own reality and contributing to the collective good. The more we align with this truth, the more we realize that the way we treat others, the way we treat ourselves, the way we interact with the world, all of it is an extension of the divine. And when we live from this place of knowing, we step into our true power. If this video has resonated with you, if it has opened your heart and mind to a deeper understanding of the divine, I invite you to share your thoughts and reflections in the comments below. What part of this message has touched you the most? How does this truth change the way you see yourself, others, and the world? Let's start a conversation about these profound ideas and share our insights with one another. And if you feel this video has brought value to your soul, if it has helped you find a sense of light in the darkness, or if it has inspired you to awaken to the divine truth within you, I humbly ask for your support. Your likes, your shares, and your subscription are not just acts of support. They are acts of love, of energy, and of alignment with the divine process. They allow this message to reach more people, to inspire more hearts, and to create a ripple effect of awakening, healing, and transformation. Your energy, no matter how small the contribution, is priceless. It fuels this work and allows it to continue. I'm deeply grateful for your presence, for your willingness to engage with these ideas, and for your support in sharing this message with others. Together, we are awakening to the truth of who we are and creating a world that reflects the love, peace, and unity that is our true nature. Thank you from the depths of my heart for being part of this journey. The divine is within you, and as you continue on your path, may you feel the love, power, and peace that comes from knowing you are never separate from the divine. You are the divine in motion, creating, transforming, and living in alignment with the highest truth. Let's keep walking this path together, supporting one another as we awaken to our true potential. Your support means more than words can express. Thank you for sharing this journey with me.